Next up, we have Massmart. Massmart trades as Game, Builders Warehouse, DionWired, Cambridge, and CBW. It is 51% held by Walmart, the world's biggest retailer. It has a market cap of 33.3 billion rand, a P/E ratio of 30, and a dividend yield of 2.74%. Now, this is an interesting one because they almost have their fingers in every pie in terms of the LSM groups. So at the moment, you've got the macros and the builders' warehouses doing really, really well because they're targeting more of a higher LSM group, and the Cambridge and the Game struggling. I don't know. I almost feel like if they took the builders' warehouse and the macro out, those two businesses would be fantastic, but the rest may be lagging a bit.
Yeah, I think you're 100% right there. I mean, it's obviously it's four divisions. I mean, the mass build and mass warehouse is absolutely fantastic. Mass discounters and mass cash, that's really what's holding back the whole group. If they can get those two businesses right, I mean, this group has a very bright future. If we do look at sort of like the food specifically as well, I mean, this is also a fairly...
Because that's the food co within the Game, so they've opened up little grocers within the Game stores.
Exactly. I mean, and this is a fairly new, avenue for them. I mean, they've always been very non-food compared to the other grocers that we're looking to today. I mean, because like you said, they sell washing machines and TVs and that through Macro, and it was really in 2008 they bought their Cambridge operation, and that was their first foray into food completely. They've now added the food co, the Macro and the Game. I mean, we saw also in the Game stores now, I mean, that's accounting for probably about 20% of Game's revenue. So, I mean, it has been very, very successful, but it's also been a little bit of a sticking point with the other retailers because it's increased competition quite dramatically, and we've seen these court cases now. ShopRite obviously suing.
Because within certain properties, they've signed agreements that they wouldn't bring a grocer in.
They don't
have a grocer license.
And that's it. And I mean, while Massmart's now taken ShopRite to the Competition Commission and said, how can you not allow it? And I kind of got to back Massmart on that one. I mean, if they can provide food and it's more options for customers, I think it's better to have the competition. I think ShopRite, again, not the way to go on that one, but I suppose it's like a war out there. It's a very, very competitive segment, but I think for me, it really remains to be seen what they're going to do with the food. Overall, it's still a very small portion of the the whole group. And it's still a very non-food driven business. But if they can get that component larger, and so far it has been successful, it's just in a very formative stage at the moment.
I guess when you have a look at the share price, you can see it's quite a choppy ride. They had the Walmart acquisition, and everyone had very high hopes for what Walmart would bring. Obviously, the behind-the-scenes stuff, because Walmart are so experienced, in terms of the distribution centers and the technology behind that, everyone was very excited. But the numbers haven't really been filtered through. I always thought that at least Game, they would rebrand to Walmart, because we've seen the Burger King effect in South Africa. How people embrace those big American brands, and I always thought the Game brand was tired, and we have mentioned that directly to management, but they seem to be adamant on pushing Game and using Game as their African expansion plans. Of course, the food co within the Game, I mean, the food businesses are lower margins, so it's actually bringing the overall margins of the Game stores down. I mean, in terms of rebranding to Macro, to Walmart, do you think that would turn things around for Game?
It's always difficult to say that just, I mean, these businesses
Easier
are so complex.
Said than done,
yeah, I mean, rebranding it, I mean, it's a nice gloss, but I don't think that would necessarily translate into a massive increase in revenue numbers. You obviously mentioned also the low margins at the food business. I think that's because they're feeling their way through this food at the moment. They're making mistakes, and they're learning the business, and that's why you might see this big top line growth, but because of the low margins, you're not seeing it filter onto the bottom line, which is unfortunate for them. I wish it was as simple as just saying, let's rebrand it as Walmart, and then this thing becomes a buy. But for me, I think they've still got a lot of work to do, and it's a business that, I mean, if we look at it on our ranking models, if we look at the pure metrics, it's actually going backwards from where it was. So it's slipping down our ranking model as well. So for me, I'm not going to go hot on this one.
Not hot. Yeah. I think when you look at the P/E of 30, you think, that's really expensive, but they have been putting quite a lot of money into their Africa expansion plans and putting out new macros, so that P/E might be a bit unfair to rate the business. I'm going to go with hot. Guy Hayward's taken over from Grant Patterson, so there is a change in management, and I really do like the majority shareholding from Walmart as their sort of African expansion plan. So I'm going to go with hot on Massmart.